I traveled through central and southwestern Sri Lanka in October, during the so-called shoulder season. It's that in-between time bridging the rainy off-season from May to September and the busy tourist stretch from December to April. The weather was unpredictable. One moment golden sunlight, the next dark clouds and pouring rain. Every day felt like a gamble. Will the sun break through, or will the rain chase me off the road? From the bustling streets of Colombo to the sacred city of Kandy, through the rain-soaked jungles of Sigiriya, down to the coastal charm of Galle, and into the misty hills of Ella. What I found in Sri Lanka wasn't polished or perfect, it was unpredictable, raw and authentic. And something about this island feels incredibly welcoming. Let's find out what it is, and along the way, let's get to know this country a bit better. Sri Lanka is a small island nation in the Indian Ocean, lying just southeast of India. It's located along vital maritime trade routes and enjoys a warm tropical climate shaped by two distinct monsoons. The southwest monsoon from May to September, which drenches the south and west, and the northeast monsoon from October to January, which brings rain to the north and east. This country is a fascinating mix of cultures and histories. The Sinhalese, which is the largest group, speak Sinhala and are mostly Buddhist, living across the south and west, where temples rise among palm trees and villages hum with daily life. And then there are Tamils. They are divided into two communities. The Sri Lankan Tamils, long rooted in the north and east, and the Indian Tamils, brought by the British in the 19th century, mainly to work on tea plantations. Most Tamils are Hindus. Their colorful temples and rituals add a different rhythm to the island's spiritual landscape. There is also a long-established Christian community found in both Sinhalese and Tamil regions, reflecting centuries of European influence. There is also a significant Muslim community and smaller groups like the Burghers, Malays and Vedas, each adding their own colors, sounds and stories to the island's identity. Together, they shape Sri Lanka's languages, faith, festivals and perhaps most memorably its food. A rich blend of spices and aromas. Sri Lanka's story goes back more than 2,000 years. For much of its history, this country wasn't a single state but a landscape of regional kingdoms. Then came the Europeans. The Portuguese arrived in 1505, building forts and seizing control over the spice trade. The Dutch took over in 1658, expanding the cinnamon trade and leaving behind canals and Roman Dutch law. How is Sri Lanka? Is Sri Lanka a great country?
Yes.
Yes? The British replaced the Dutch in 1796, and after gaining control of the last independent kingdom of Kandy, they unified the island for the first time. They built railways, introduced English education and formed vast tea plantations, transforming Ceylon, as it was known back then, into one of their most profitable colonies. When the British departed, they left behind more than railways and tea estates. Their legacy also included deep social and economic divides, a system that favored some communities over others, shaping politics long after independence. After gaining independence in 1948, Sri Lanka began its new chapter as a young nation. But unity proved difficult. Tensions between the Sinhalese majority and Tamil minority slowly grew, rooted in politics, language and identity. Over the decades, these divisions deepened, eventually erupting into a long and brutal civil war in 1983. For more than 2 decades, Sri Lanka was trapped in a painful cycle of offensive ceasefires and immense human suffering. In the middle of the war, nature delivered another devastating blow. In December 2004, the Indian Ocean tsunami hit the island's eastern and southern coast, killing over 30,000 people and displacing hundreds of thousands. The war finally came to an end in 2009, but its scars, both seen and unseen, still run deep. Even today, rebuilding and reconciliation remain part of Sri Lankans' long and ongoing journey. More recently, Sri Lanka has faced new challenges. Years of economic mismanagement combined with global pressures pushed the country into its worst economic crisis since independence, peaking in 2022. People queued for hours for petrol, experienced power cuts and faced soaring prices. Mass protests filled the streets and forced political change. Now, recovery is underway, but it remains fragile. Despite all these hardships, Sri Lanka's spirit remains unbroken. Tourism helps families and communities rebuild, but what truly defines this island is its people. Warm, curious and endlessly welcoming. Wherever you go, you're met with a smile. So here I am, setting out to explore Sri Lanka for myself. To meet its people, walk its streets, ride its trains, and discover its stories. My journey began with its first highlight, flying on the world's largest passenger plane, the Airbus A380. It was my first time on this giant, and the smooth takeoff from Zurich surprised me. It's a bit sad knowing they are no longer produced, with fewer than 200 still in service. In Dubai, I switched to a smaller jet for the final leg to Colombo, knowing that the real adventure was about to begin. Colombo lies on the western coast of Sri Lanka, facing the Indian Ocean. After landing at the airport, I took the bus to the city center near the floating market. The bus ride cost about $1 and took almost 1 hour, a pretty good deal. As soon as I arrived, the city felt alive, but not overwhelming, full of movement, sounds and colors. The first thing I did was head to the Fort District, the old colonial center of Colombo, and since I like places with history, I checked into the Grand Oriental Hotel, the kind of place that feels frozen in time, with long corridors, creaky wooden furniture, and the view so bad it's almost charming. The view is horrible, but the room seems pretty nice. Originally a Dutch-era building, it later served as British Army barracks, before becoming a luxury stopover for colonial officials. After a quick nap, I was ready to see what Colombo has to offer. The city is a fascinating blend of contrast, where modern high-rise buildings stand beside old neighborhoods, where tuk-tuks race past colonial buildings, and the salty ocean breeze mixes with a constant buzz of traffic and street vendors. The name Colombo is believed to come from the old Sinhala term Kolon Tota, meaning harbor by the river Kelani, later adapted by the Portuguese as Colombo. Today, it's home to around 750,000 people in the city itself and around 5 million in the greater metropolitan area. The city is divided into several districts, each with its own character. During my short stay, I managed to explore only a few of them before moving on to other parts of the island. Let's start in the Fort District, the place where Colombo's story began. In the 1500s, the Portuguese built a fortified outpost here to protect their spice trade. The Dutch later expanded it, and the British reshaped it into the seat of the administration. Today, the empires are gone, but their presence still lingers in the colonial streets, the old stone buildings, and the sense of order that contrasts with the chaos of nearby Pettah. Standing among all these reminders is the old lighthouse. Once the tallest structure in this area, it used to guide ships into the harbor. But just around the corner, the scene changes completely. The colonial streets open to reveal Colombo's modern side. This is the World Trade Center, built in 1997. The 150 meters tall Twin Towers symbolize Sri Lanka's era of ambition and growth. But not every vision made it to reality. Not far away stands the Krish Tower, a massive concrete skeleton. Planned as a luxury complex in the early 2010s, the project ran into financial troubles and corruption allegations. Today, its empty frame looms over the old colonial streets. And then there is the Old Dutch Hospital, one of the oldest buildings in Colombo. Built in the 1600s to treat Dutch soldiers, it has survived centuries of change, and it's been restored and turned into a lively courtyard filled with restaurants. It was lunchtime and I was keen to try some Sri Lankan food. I chose a rice dish called lamprice. It was introduced by the Dutch burger community, descendants of Dutch settlers, and it's influenced by Indonesian-style banana leaf dishes that came here along the Dutch East India Company trade routes. Just outside the old fort walls lies Pettah, the city's busiest and most chaotic district. It's a maze of narrow streets packed with shops, markets and street vendors, a place where you can find almost anything from clothes, bags, fruits, watches and much more. Pettah has always been Colombo's trading hub, shaped by centuries of merchants from Arabia, India and beyond. It's noisy, colorful and alive, the perfect window into the everyday rhythm of Sri Lanka's capital. In the middle of Pettah's busy streets stands one of Colombo's most striking landmarks, the Jami Ul Alfar Mosque, better known as the Red Mosque. Built in 1909, its bold red and white pattern makes it look almost like a piece of candy against the blue sky. Not far from there is the Dutch Museum, one of Colombo's quietest historical spots. The building itself dates back to the late 1600s, once the home of a Dutch governor during colonial times. Then I reached Pettah Market, a bustling maze of stalls packed into a small hall. Let's soak in the atmosphere and see what they're selling. And all this hassle unfolds under the calm gaze of the giant Buddha statue, watching over this district. After the noise of Pettah, I headed back towards the ocean. This is Galle Face, Colombo's seaside district. At its center lies Galle Face Green, a long urban park where people gather to watch the sea, eat street food or fly kites. Once built by the British for parades and horse racing, it's now where the city comes to breathe. The air quality in the center is not always the greatest. From forts, Pettah and Galle Face, you can already feel the scale of Colombo, but to see it all at once, you have to go higher. Completed in 2019, the Lotus Tower stands over 350 meters tall, rising above the city as a proud symbol of modern Sri Lanka. The entrance fee for foreign adults is around $20. And when I visited, I was the only foreigner there, surrounded by locals. From the top, you can see the harbor, the crowded streets of Pettah, the calm stretch of the Indian Ocean, and the Beira Lake that lies right next to the tower. The lake was created by the Portuguese as part of the defensive system, and the Dutch expanded it with a network of canals. Today, it's a quiet spot where locals come to unwind. But to be honest, it wasn't very clean, and finding my way out wasn't easy. I ended up squeezing through a gate that looked like it was closed for today. As evening came, the Dutch hospital area came alive with light and sound. I ended the day at the Ministry of Crab, the iconic restaurant founded by chef Darshan Munidasa and two cricket legends, to honor one of the island's greatest treasures, the Sri Lankan mud crab. The setting is beautiful, high colonial ceiling, soft lighting and the sound of sizzling butter and garlic from the open kitchen. There is no rush, you pick your crab by size from half a kilo to a massive crabzilla. I started with a giant prawn and then devoured a large crab. It's not a cheap place, the meal cost me about $150. Next morning, after a quick breakfast, I headed to the station to catch my train. Guys, I'm about to take the train from Colombo to Kandy. Practical advice, skip the first class. The air conditioning is ice cold and the windows don't open so you can't enjoy the views. After that experience, I swore to stick to the second class. In Kandy, the railway station is a true piece of art. Built during the British era, it looks surprisingly Art Deco. Clean lines and simple geometry, far less than the usual colonial style. On the way to the town center, you're greeted by this clock tower, a monument built from grief. It was a gift from a wealthy merchant in memory of his son, who died in a car accident in 1947. But just beyond this tragic story, the city's deeper history unfolds. Kandy sits high in Sri Lanka's misty central hills, the last royal capital of a Sinhalese kingdom. For centuries, it served as a stronghold of kings and Buddhist traditions, holding on to its sovereignty long after the coastal regions were claimed by European powers, protected by its rugged terrain, dense forest, and the unwavering loyalty of its people. Even after the British finally took the city in 1815, Kandy never truly surrendered. Its temples continued to echo with chants, and its people still carried the pride of a kingdom that refused to be forgotten. The Temple of the Tooth relic still drew pilgrims from across the islands, guarding what many believed to be a sacred relic of the Buddha himself. The temple became more than a monument. Today, it remains one of the most sacred Buddhist sites in the world. For centuries, kings protected the tooth relic as fiercely as their own throne, knowing that whoever held the relic held the right to rule. And even now, its halls still carry the weight of that history. I stayed at the Queen's Hotel, one of Kandy's most distinctive landmarks. But it didn't always look like this. The original mansion was built under the last Kandyan king, and after the British took control, they reshaped it into the structure we see today. Inside, the place hits you with its classic noble vibe right away. Let's see if I got a better view this time. And yes, even a lake view. Hard to complain, especially for a room that cost you only about $35. Breakfast was included, and it was better than I expected. The highlight for me was the curry section. Deep and rich flavors, fresh spices, and all of it at 8 in the morning. Kandy Lake is one of the first things you notice here. It's right in the middle of the city, but it isn't natural. The last king of Kandy built it in 1807, choosing this exact spot beside the Temple of the Tooth. Before that, it was all paddy fields. If you look closely, you see a small island in the middle of the lake. It used to be part of the king's private garden. But even as the world changed, Kandy held on to its traditions. I was told if you really want to understand Sri Lanka, skip the guidebooks and talk to a souvenir vendor.
Gamarale and Gamahamine.
Nice.
The village.
The village people of Sri Lanka.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. And these are the same here?
Yeah, same.
Same, huh? Peacock mask.
Peacock.
Okay.
It's a fire.
Fire, huh?
I mean, give that. It's peacock.
Okay.
It's a cobra mask.
Okay. Well, off camera he gave me more information, especially regarding the traditional dances, and that there is a show every day at 6 p.m. in a cultural center. And once it's over, you can grab a photo with the performers themselves. As you'd expect, Kandy has no shortage of great places to eat. My favorite spot was tucked behind the entrance of a residential building, a little place called Mandia. They served different kinds of Sri Lankan curry, and the fish curry was the best. Every bite had that perfect balance of heat and aroma that feels unmistakably Sri Lankan. It was so good I finished the plate in minutes. But nothing beats meeting locals who know Sri Lanka better than any guidebook. One night I discussed Swiss and Sri Lankan cheese with these two locals, but we mostly talked about the amount of cheese they put on Big Macs in each of the two countries.
If you get the Mac burger,
Yeah.
how much cheese do you have in the Switzerland? It's gonna be a lot of cheese, right?
Yes, but we don't feel like it's cheese. There is something wrong with the cheese.
At the end we agreed that they should definitely put more cheese everywhere. Another night I ran into fellow travelers. And after the bars closed, some Sri Lankan locals reopened a small restaurant just for us. We chilled on a terrace, sipping our rock cocktails while they played guitar and sang Sri Lankan songs. From guitars and music, the story moves into the hills, where long before tea, these slopes were covered in coffee. The crop arrived with the Dutch in the 1700s and later boomed under the British, turning the island into one of the world's major coffee producers. But in the late 1800s, disaster struck. A fungal disease called coffee leaf rust swept through the plantations, wiping out the crop within few decades. With the industry collapsing, British planters turned to tea and transformed the island's future. The hills were soon covered by tea plantations, endless green terraces carved into the mountains. Since then, Ceylon tea has become a name recognized all over the world. If you're into tea, this country is basically a playground of tea museums. You can wander through centuries of tea history and learn a few secrets.
First process is the manufacture is withering drop upper flow and now.
And then wrap it all up with tea tasting. The next morning, I set off on an adventure to the legendary Sigiriya rock. Often called Line Rock, it's a massive ancient rock fortress rising 200 meters above the central plains of Sri Lanka. Around 1500 years ago, King Kashyapa chose this giant volcanic plaque as the site of his royal palace. He built water gardens, moats, and an entire city around it, then carved an entrance in the shape of a lion. Only the giant paws remain today. So I jumped on a local bus to Dambulla, from where I would take a tuk-tuk to Sigiriya. The ride reminded me once again just how stunning this country is. We rumbled past tiny villages and temples. I even made a friend. Despite language barriers, we chatted for a while, and by the end of the ride he somehow became a subscriber to this channel.
And this here is the downtown of Dambulla. Oh, take a look at this ride. First, let's try a red banana and the Sri Lankan coconuts.
They are red because this type of banana has natural colors in the skin that turn red as it grows, nothing fancy.
Trying the red banana. It's sweet and it's sour at the same time. But it's not as sweet as I expected. It's actually more sour than sweet, interesting.
And of course, there was the daily coconut treat.
Nice.
Like every other town, Dambulla has its own funny characters. Like this man who's been whistling non-stop since sunrise. From here, all that was left was a tuk-tuk ride to the famous Line Rock. So I found a friendly driver and we set off towards Sigiriya.
And we're off to the Line Rock.
Yeah, Line Rock.
Line Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We found a nice driver.
Yeah.
He's gonna drive us to the Line Rock and back for 5,000 rupees. I think it's a fair price.
Yeah.
Obviously, this ride would cost much less in a city, but considering that this is a tourist spot and I look like a tourist, this wasn't a bad price at all. The ride was fun until the rain started, and I began to wonder if climbing a giant rock was a smart idea.
That's okay, let's go like this. It's fun. Alright, so we arrived in Dambulla, and then I took the tuk-tuk all the way up here to Sigiriya. And this is where there's this rock that we're gonna visit now. Let's go. But first we need to buy a ticket. Let's get a ticket.
The entry was $35 for foreigners, not exactly cheap, but at least the weather looked promising again. But as I walked closer to the rock, the sky started to shift. A few drops became a steady drizzle.
It just started raining again. I just wish it would stop raining. Just have to enjoy it in the rain.
This wasn't just a fortress on a rock, it was a place shaped by fear of revenge. After overthrowing his father and fearing retaliation from his brother, King Kashyapa built this stronghold on top of this nearly unassailable 200-meter tall rock in the jungle. When Kashyapa's reign ended, Sigiriya continued as a Buddhist monastery. Today, it stands in ruins because after the monks left, the fortress was abandoned to the jungle for centuries, slowly crumbling under time and nature.
And you have dogs even up here. Oh man, what an experience.
Up here, the ruins sit surrounded by sweeping views of the jungle. Despite the weather, the moments at the top were unforgettable.
Could have been worse. I mean, it could rain much less, I would appreciate it a lot, but at least it's not too crowded.
After that, the same driver picked me up, and on the way back I invited him for some food. We stopped at a small Sri Lankan restaurant. I ordered a chicken kotoroti with cheese, and the chef started chopping and mixing everything in his wok. This was one of those moments that remind you why you travel. The next day, I set out on an adventure that was just as exciting, maybe even crazier. I was going to climb one of the scariest towers that I've ever seen, the Ambuluwawa Tower. This isn't your average lookout point. The structure itself rises about 48 meters from the base, but when you factor in the height of the hill it sits on, you're really climbing into the clouds. The climb begins on a spiral staircase, nothing too exciting first. But then the stairs shift to the outside of the tower, and you can see for the first time just how high it actually is. Unlike in most towers, this staircase wraps around the exterior like a giant white ribbon. At some points it becomes so narrow that you have to walk sideways, which is part of the thrill. There are small spaces tucked into the middle of the tower, where you can step aside and let people pass from the opposite direction. And that twisty spiral shape isn't random, it was designed to look like a DNA helix, symbolizing life, unity, and the biological research foundation that is linked to the site. Up here, the world feels quiet. Clouds drift fast, covering the hills and revealing them again, like the mountain is breathing. That makes the moment even more surreal. And then finally, I reached the very top of it.
So we're going all the way to the top. Oh man, it doesn't go any further.
That's it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, now it's...
Okay.
I think that should be it.
What a magical moment, standing right in the clouds with the wind wrapping around me. But the view down isn't exactly for the faint-hearted.
That should definitely be on your to-do list if you come to Sri Lanka. The Ambuluwawa Tower, that's an epic experience, even though I can't see much, to be honest. We're in the middle in the clouds. Take a look, there's just clouds.
The way down is just as epic as climbing up. Each step brings you back into the real world.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Leaving the clouds behind and the hills slowly reappearing. It's like coming back from a dream, one stair at a time.
Is it visible or not?
If it's yeah, it's a bit cloudy. But you know, sometimes the clouds clear and sometimes you can see it. But mostly cloudy. Enjoy. See you guys.
If the big tower feels a bit too intimidating, don't worry, there's a smaller one right beside it.
Hello. After you, sir. Wow, that's narrow. And that's it. We're on top again.
Both of these towers are part of a larger site known as the Ambuluwawa Biodiversity and Multi-Religious Complex. So it's not just a tower, but a full destination combining nature, faith, architecture and views. Here you find places of worship for Buddhists, Hindus, Christians and Muslims, all in one beautiful forested setting. All that climbing over rocks and towers made me want to come back down to sea level. So I packed my stuff and headed for the coastal town of Negombo, a place where I can sit by the beach with freshly grilled seafood and meet more locals. On the way, I changed buses in Kurunegala, a small town along the route.
I'm just here for about half an hour and then we're gonna take the bus to Negombo.
When I stepped out of the station, I saw a giant Buddha statue sitting on a hill called Tatugala, or Elephant Rock. Built in 2003, the statue represents and inspires Buddhist devotion. But I soon realized that this town isn't only Buddhist, as I came across this beautiful mosque, standing among the shops and busy streets. And these two guys were so excited they almost crashed. With half an hour to spare, I wandered through the streets, past small shops, tuk-tuks and people moving with the easy Sri Lankan rhythm. The town is simple, unpolished and exactly what I came here to experience. When I finally arrived in Negombo, I got off the bus along this road, and the atmosphere was just right. Locals going about their daily lives, no tourists anywhere. On my way to the hotel, I passed through some interesting neighborhoods and came across this.
Wow guys, check out this little church. Feels like in the middle of the jungle. It's amazing, looks really cool.
Then I crossed the Hamilton Canal. Originally built by the Dutch, it was later expanded by the British under the supervision of a guy called Hamilton. And that's where this canal got its name from. To remind me that this is not the sunny high season, Sri Lanka activated its daily weather update.
And just a few minutes later it started to rain again. Wow. It rains every 10 minutes. Oh man. Let's see if the rain stops now. It seems to slow down a bit.
A few hours later the weather cleared up and tourists started appearing out of nowhere. This place is clearly built for it. Hotels, restaurants line the main road. Most of them serving seafood, but I was looking for the actual sea. And right by the beach, I found this place that felt instantly inviting. Relaxed atmosphere and no one trying to pull me in.
I think it's about 26, 27 degrees. Beautiful wind coming from the sea.
The waiters were very friendly, and one of them told me that he sings on the Voice of Sri Lanka.
I will think one.
Sing, okay.
Hi. I did it 6 months ago, like the Voice Sri Lanka season 3. Then I got a beautiful experience with my coach and my team like this. Then there was like 160 people. Then I came like 32 like after 4 rounds. Then I got a lot of experience with the voice and nice experience.
The waiters are not only talented singers but also bartending acrobats. They started flipping my beer like it's an Olympic sport.
Hello, you are coming to Negombo, to the Port Beach restaurant, Ambuluwawa Tower. Evening time, coming nice sunset. Come and see this place. Thank you.
Later, I met the owners, a warm family running the place with real passion.
Is Sri Lanka a good country?
Oh, good country, good.
Sri Lanka is a very good country. What is the best place in Sri Lanka?
Place only
Sigiriya, the rock. What is your favorite food? Your favorite Sri Lankan food?
Food only tuna fish, tuna, lobsters,
Tuna?
lobsters,
Fish, everything,
rice and curry.
They told me it's not all beachside fun, it's hard work, long hours and a lot of dedication behind the scenes.
My wife, family business. Morning, 9 o'clock coming, night, 10 o'clock going. I job, okay, restaurant.
Apart from the beach areas, I also explored the downtown of Negombo, which feels quite busy for its size. This clock tower instantly caught my attention. It's probably one of the town's signature landmarks. It's not massive, but it carries a lot of local character. As I walked around, I couldn't help but notice there are churches everywhere. Big ones, small ones, they're literally all over the place. The Portuguese brought Catholicism here back in the 1500s, and it's been part of local life ever since. That's a beautiful place. Sri Lanka keeps impressing. This here is the San Sebastian's church, maybe the most beautiful in town. Damaged in a horrific Easter attack in 2019, it's been restored and reopened, carrying with it the scars and the strength of the community. As I was filming, a funeral passed by, a reminder that life is always moving, sometimes beautifully, sometimes painfully. Not far from there, I found this local market. Let's see what they're selling.
Hello, sir. Chili. Spicy. Hello.
Thinking of food, what about lunch? Let's find a nice place.
Hello, sir. Winston restaurant there? Yeah. Thank you. Hello, sir. Today, finally, it's not raining, so enjoying the sun on the beach at a seafood restaurant.
I even ordered 2 plates, and it was the right choice.
We have a seafood restaurant very near to the city, very famous in this time. Actually, we are running a family restaurant.
Thank you. Absolutely fantastic place. And the owner, it's a family-run business. He's a legend, very nice guy. All of the people Sri Lanka that I've met so far are just extremely friendly.
Later in the afternoon, I found the Hamilton Canal again, but this time in a more urban setting. For a moment, I thought I was in Amsterdam. On the other side, the renovation was going on. Let's get to know these guys.
How is Sri Lanka? Is Sri Lanka a great country? Are you a construction worker?
Then, I made even more friends when I decided to get a haircut. I paid around $3 and the result was outstanding.
I think you made a great job. Take a look at my hair.
Even strangers approved my new haircut. With rising confidence, I met more interesting people. Sri Lankans are very open and friendly. I was never hassled or pulled into someone's shop. Most people who talked to me were genuinely curious and not trying to scam me. At least that was my impression.
Didi, yes.
Unfortunately, the rain made a dramatic comeback, so I dashed into the nearest restaurant. And that's where I spotted something unusual on the menu: shark. Naturally, my curiosity won. It tasted like firm, slightly salty fish, just denser and more meaty. Something I wouldn't usually find on a menu in Switzerland. And just like that, half of my 3-week journey was over. So what's the verdict? After visiting more than 60 countries, Sri Lankans easily rank in my top 5 for warmth and kindness. They are a big part of why this place feels so deeply welcoming. Next, I headed to the airport to pick up someone who's decided to join me for the second half of this adventure. Join us as we explore the island south and the highlands in the next video.